161.2 million years ago, during the Jurassic period, a colossal titan roamed North America. At its tallest, it measured 72 feet tall, and at heaviest, it was estimated to weigh 46.9 metric tons. Its name? Brachiosaurus. And for some reason, I decided to make them giant, wrinkly brown lizards with femboy knee-high socks and the structure of a tower surrounding their necks, almost like a cone of shame, when I made a baby and adult Brachiosaurus Pokemon for this series. Now, I know it seems odd that I would do that to them, but there is a reason behind this madness. The reason is that I wanted to show the parallel between Jurassic Park and the Tower of Babel. We all know the story of Jurassic Park. God creates dinosaurs, God destroys dinosaurs, God creates man, man destroys God, and creates dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs eat man. Woman inherits the earth.
But for those of you who are unaware of the Tower of Babel, let me summarize it for you. God creates man in the Garden of Eden. God gives man free will. Free will allows man to learn sin and do sin. Man gets kicked out of Garden of Eden because of said sinning. Time skip, thousands of years later. Man begins building tower to reach heaven. God says no. God makes diverse language happen as punishment. Man can't speak to other man because Google Translate didn't exist yet. Man stops building tower because of language barrier. Got it? Fantastic! Stories akin to the Tower of Babel usually involve someone or a group of people trying to attain godhood in some form of way. But ultimately, they don't realize that what they are doing is creating their own downfall by, trying to attain this godhood. And that self-destruction will always come in that story, no matter how hard they try to prevent it. Oh, and what's this? John Hammond builds a dinosaur theme park using technology he hardly understands. And what happens next? Right. The dinosaurs have deformities, are prone to illness, and have abilities that they shouldn't have. And some of them are escaping already. It's almost as if he was doomed for failure to begin with. Like the Tower of Babel. This is all why Babechy and Babechiospire are based on the Tower of Babel. But why Brachiosaurus for the example? Well, when we first see the Brachiosaurus in Jurassic Park, it's this grand and amazing sight. Something so impossibly tall existing right in front of our eyes in CGI that holds up fairly well today. In my opinion, at least. In parallel with the Brachiosaurus, the Tower of Babel would have also been a spectacular sight to see if it existed today. It was made to reach into heaven, so of course it would have been a wonder to see if it were taken out of myth. Also, it's simple logic. I have a tall dinosaur, I have a tall tower. Tall dinosaur tower Pokemon. These connections to the Tower of Babel and to Brachiosaurus is what gives Babechy and Babechiospire their names and design elements. Babechy and Babechiospire's names are taken mostly from Babel and Brachio, the prefix of Brachiosaurus, which means arm. And speaking of its arms, this evolution's line's legs, are based on pillars, which would have helped hold up the Tower of Babel, although they're more so Greek in design origin, not based on the image I used for sort of an idea of what I wanted it to look like. The castle structure that surrounds Babechy and Babechiospire's neck are also taken from stereotypical towers and castles. These pieces of their body are supposed to act like armor of sorts, protecting those specific parts of their bodies. But what about the skin, you say? Well, there is a reason why I made them rock grass type and not pure rock or rock ground type, and the reason is because of why I detailed their skin in that way. Back in the Jurassic period, the ancestor to modern day sequoia trees, the sequoia dendrons, came about. Hey everybody, Henry editing.
So I got some information wrong. Turns out the Sequoia dendrons are the current genus of modern sequoia trees. So I messed that up. But there were sequoia-like trees in the past. So this information is... There's some truth to there. I just, I messed it up while researching. So sorry for that.
They were one of the tallest trees to ever exist, and since Brachiosaurus and the Tower of Babel are both tall by themselves, I had to include them. This is why Babechy and Babechiospire have a reddish-brown color to them, as well as the texture of giant sequoia's bark. Now that we got all the design elements and ideas out of the way, let's talk about these Pokemon's abilities and dex entries specifically. Starting with Babechy. Babechy's abilities are Sturdy and Sap Sipper. Sturdy is a common ability for rock types as they have many weaknesses that can cause them to faint. Babechy, being a rock grass type, has a small handful of weaknesses that it can defend itself against, but only for so long. So, Sturdy is a good ability for it. Sap Sipper was chosen because Brachiosaurus is an herbivorous dinosaur, feeding off the trees, with its long neck providing the support it needs to get to the leaves. Babechy's hidden ability is Solid Rock, which reduces the power of super effective moves that it's hit with. I chose this ability for Babechy as it is meant to be a very durable Pokemon. As I said in its dex entry, Babechy's tough skin has the texture of fossilized wood, but the durability of a living tree. However, the armor on its neck and legs are made of something that has the texture of bricks and mortar. The mention of bricks and mortar are in reference to what the Tower of Babel might have been made of according to the Book of Jubilees. Now, design-wise, neither Babechy or Babechiospire's legs or neck armor resemble brick and mortar, nor do their shinies, which are just modeled after their appearance in Jurassic Park 3. They are just stereotypical pillars and castle tops. Speaking of Babechiospire, when it evolves from Babechy at level 36, it loses Sturdy and replaces that ability with Weak Armor. This replacement is all to relate with the Tower of Babel story. Babechiospire is tall, yes, but it's also capable of being destroyed. As said in its text entry, while it has grown to a near impossible height to reach for food high in the trees, Babechiospire's armor struggles to fend off predators. One strong hit to its legs could end up shattering the armor surrounding it, and cause Babechiospire to stumble and fall. Tragic, I know, and not realistic compared to what we currently know about Brachiosaurus, as its body would have been able to help protect itself from predators. But it's a good parallel to the Tower of Babel for how the reach for something desirable led to its fall. When it was first discovered, there was this initial theory that Brachiosaurus was too heavy to support its own weight on land. Paleontologists had thought that the only way Brachiosaurus would be able to support itself is by submerging its body underwater. This is why some paleo art depicts Brachiosaurus with nostrils at the top of its head, which Jurassic Park actually references in their design for Brachiosaurus. I also referenced this design choice in Babechy, but when it evolves into Babechiospire, its nostrils go back to the front of its face. The information about Brachiosaurus, of course, is incorrect. It could support its own weight on land, and, doesn't have nostrils at the top of its head, but rather in the front. And I'm sure you're wondering what special move this Pokemon has. And it doesn't have any. No, I'm not kidding, it doesn't. Babechy and Babechiospire are supposed to just be like more sort of filler dinosaur Pokemon, not anything like what I did with previous ones. I'm not gonna give every fossil Pokemon I make a special move. And with that said, that's all I have to say about Babechy and Babechiospire. So, what do you think about Babechy and Babechiospire? I think they're pretty cool. Leave a like, share with friends, drop a comment if you want. And don't forget to follow if you haven't done that already. And with that said, goodbye!